The emergency council meeting had been called at 3 a.m. Galactic Standard Time. Not a good sign. Never a good sign. High Commander Thrace stood at the head of the obsidian table, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence, a nervous habit he developed over 600 years of military service. Around him sat the 12 most powerful beings in the Galactic Federation, representatives from species that had conquered entire star systems, survived extinction events, and negotiated peace treaties that lasted millennia. And they were all staring at Commander Thrace. Thrace, a hulking Vorganian with scales that shimmered purple under the chamber's lights, looked like he'd rather be anywhere else in the universe. His translator implant crackled as he cleared his throat. 3 times. So, High Commander Thrace began, his voice dangerously calm. Let me make absolutely certain I understand this correctly. You invaded Earth? Thrace's scales darkened to a deep violet. Well, yes, but Earth, repeated Council Member Yara, a Skelthian whose tentacles were writhing in what could only be described as second-hand embarrassment. The planet with the warning beacons. The planet that's been marked as Code Red in every database for the last 200 years. Technically, Thrace started, then stopped when Vrex's eyes narrowed to slits. Ambassador Krell, representing the Morphic Collective, made a sound like grinding metal. In his species' language, that was laughter. Uncontrollable, horrified laughter. Did you at least read the files? Please tell me you read the files before deciding to wage war on humanity. Thrace's silence spoke volumes. Oh, ancestors preserve us, muttered Thrace, pressing his primary hands against his temples. How many ships did you send? A full battle fleet. 47 warships. Our best troops. Elite soldiers who've conquered 16 systems without breaking a sweat. Thrace's voice grew smaller with each word. We thought they were primitive. Their planet shows pre-warp signatures. Simple radio waves. Chemical propulsion. No shields we could detect from orbit. Yara's tentacles had stopped moving entirely. That was worse than the writhing. And what happened? They adapted. Thrace pulled up a holographic display. Footage began playing, shaky and filled with static. This was our first landing site. We chose their largest population center, the city they call New York. We expected surrender within hours. The council leaned forward, watching as Vorganian drop ships descended through Earth's atmosphere. The ships were massive, each one capable of carrying 500 soldiers. The footage showed them landing in a place called Central Park, crushing trees and monuments beneath their weight. We broadcast our demands in every frequency. We were very clear: submit or be destroyed. Thrace's voice had taken on a hollow quality. They responded within 6 minutes. With surrender? Asked Council Member Drax, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. With jets, missiles, and something they called angry New Yorkers with attitude problems. Thrace switched to another video feed. Our shields held against their military weapons. We weren't worried. Then, the council watched in growing horror as humans began appearing. Not with advanced weapons. Not with energy shields or plasma rifles. They came with construction equipment, fire trucks, and vehicles they called garbage trucks. They rammed us, Thrace said, his voice barely a whisper. They modified their primitive vehicles and just rammed our ships. One of their vehicles, taxi, I believe it was called, crashed into our command center's entrance at what their measurements call 90 miles per hour. The driver survived, walked away laughing. High Commander Thrace felt a headache forming behind his third eye. Go on. Our troops reported that the humans were studying our weapons in real time. During combat, they'd get hit by our stun rifles, get back up, and then Thrace paused, as if he still couldn't believe what he was saying. They'd start building countermeasures. Right there, in the middle of the battlefield, using their primitive tools and salvage parts from our equipment. How long did you last? Yara asked quietly. 72 hours before we called for evacuation. 48 hours after that, before we could actually leave. The council chamber fell silent, except for the soft hum of the station's life support systems. Ambassador Krell finally spoke, his voice no longer filled with laughter. Let me guess. They took apart your ships. Thrace nodded miserably. They have a saying on Earth. Anything not nailed down is mine. Anything I can pry loose is not nailed down. We lost 18 vessels to something they called enthusiastic salvage operations. And your casualties? Rex asked, though part of him didn't want to know. Surprisingly low, actually. They captured most of my forces instead of killing them. They were very creative about it. Thrace pulled up another video. The council watched as Vorganian soldiers, each standing 8 feet tall and trained in 17 forms of combat, were subdued by humans using nets, tranquilizer darts that shouldn't have worked on Vorganian biology, but somehow did, and in one memorable case, a fire hose. They kept apologizing while they captured us, Thrace added. Said things like, sorry buddy, nothing personal, and you picked the wrong planet, pal. Council member Drax leaned back in his chair, his crystalline form refracting the chamber's light into rainbow patterns. Where are your soldiers now? Being held in a location called Nevada. Area 51, specifically. They're being interviewed. Rex felt his headache intensifying. Interviewed. The humans want to know about our technology, our culture, our history. Thrace's scales had gone completely dark now. They're trading our soldiers for information. Voluntarily. My troops are teaching them about plasma physics in exchange for something called pizza. The implications hung in the air like a supernova about to collapse. The silence in the council chamber stretched like the void between galaxies. Finally, Ambassador Krell spoke, his voice like stones grinding together. Pizza. Your elite soldiers. The ones who conquered the Draxian Nebula. Surrendered for pizza. It's apparently very good pizza. Thrace mumbled, which earned him a withering look from every council member simultaneously. High Commander Thrace activated his own holoscreen, pulling up files that had been collecting digital dust for 2 centuries. Did anyone, at any point, think to check why Earth has been marked as off-limits since first contact protocols were established? The question hung in the air. Thrace said nothing. I will tell you why, Thrace continued, his voice taking on the tone of a professor lecturing a particularly stupid student. Because humans are what happens when you take a species, strand them on a death world, give them known natural weapons, and then watch them decide to become the apex predator anyway. Yara pulled up another file, her tentacles moving with renewed purpose. Earth is classified as a Category 9 death world. The weather actively tries to kill them. They have storms that flatten entire cities. Their oceans are filled with creatures that could swallow our ships whole. Their land masses shift and split open without warning. And yet, they thrive, finished Council Member Drax. They don't just survive. They build cities in their most dangerous zones. They invented recreational activities in conditions that would kill most of us. What kind of recreational activities? Asked Thrace, though he sounded like he regretted asking immediately. Rex pulled up images. They throw themselves out of aircraft for fun. They slide down mountains on pieces of wood. They have something called extreme ironing, where they iron clothes in dangerous locations just to prove they can. One of them climbed their highest mountain wearing nothing but shorts because someone said it was impossible. Why? Thrace's voice was barely a whisper. Because it was there, Yara read from the file. That's the reason the human gave. Because the mountain was there. Ambassador Krell brought up combat statistics. Do you know what happened the last time someone tried to invade Earth? The Kryn Armada. 40,000 ships. This was before humans even had space travel. The Kryn thought it would be easy. Why? Thrace's voice was barely a whisper. Why? Thrace's voice was barely a whisper. Because it was there, Yara read from a file. That's the reason the human gave. Because the mountain was there. Ambassador Krell brought up combat statistics. Do you know what happened the last time someone tried to invade Earth? The Kryn Armada. 40,000 ships. This was before humans even had space travel. The Kryn thought it would be easy. What happened to the Kryn? Asked one of the quieter council members, a gelatinous being named Prex. They became a cautionary tale, Krell replied. Humans captured their technology, reverse-engineered it in 6 months, and used it to develop their own space program. They went from chemical rockets to plasma drives because someone attacked them and they got curious about how the weapons worked. Thrace's scales had gone so dark they were almost black. No one told me any of this. It's in the database, Thrace said flatly, under multiple warning labels, with flashing lights, and a required acknowledgement form. I thought those were just suggestions. The council stared at him. Even the species without traditional eyes managed to convey staring. Suggestions, Yara repeated slowly. You thought the galactic warning system was offering suggestions. Moving on, Thrace said before anyone could explode. The important question now is, would you tell them? Thrace shifted uncomfortably. Standard invasion protocol. We told them we were the Vorganian Empire, that resistance was futile, and that they should surrender immediately or face annihilation. And their response? They went from chemical rockets to plasma drives because someone attacked them and they got curious about how the weapons worked. Thrace's scales had gone so dark they were almost black. No one told me any of this. It's in the database, Thrace said flatly, under multiple warning labels, with flashing lights, and a required acknowledgement form. A human in what they call a suit came out to negotiate. He had no weapons, no armor, just clothing and a briefcase. He walked right up to our front lines, handed me a document, and told me I had 30 minutes to withdraw or they would escalate. Council member Drax leaned forward. You had just threatened to destroy their planet, and they gave you a chance to leave? Yes. The document was something called a cease and desist letter. Apparently, I was violating 17 different sections of their international law, including improper parking and noise complaints. Thrace pulled up an image of the document. It was very official looking, had a stamp and everything. What did you do? Asked Prex, his gelatinous form quivering. I laughed. Then I told him we would accept nothing less than total surrender. Thrace paused. That's when things got worse. Worse than humans building counterweapons during active combat? Yara's tentacles were writhing again. They started trash-talking us. Thrace looked genuinely disturbed by the memory. Over every communication channel. They hacked our systems just to mock us. One of their transmissions was just someone playing musical instruments badly and calling it psychological warfare. It worked. My troops were so confused they forgot to maintain formation. Thrace pulled up communication logs. What kind of trash talking? One of their military leaders kept calling me Purple Nurple. I still don't know what that means. Another one sent us their equivalent of motivational posters, but they all had insulting messages. There was something called a meme about our ships that spread through their global network in minutes. I laughed. Then I told him we would accept nothing less than total surrender. Thrace paused. That's when things got worse. They memed you, Krell said, his metal grinding laughter returning. During an invasion. They memed you. It gets worse. Thrace continued, his voice hollow. They started offering my soldiers better deals to switch sides. Not threatening them. Offering. Jobs. Education. Healthcare. Something called a retirement plan. The council chamber fell silent again. How many defected? Thrace asked quietly. 47 soldiers requested asylum by day 3. They're now working as cultural consultants. Earth gave them work permits. Thrace pulled up photos of Vorganian soldiers wearing human clothes, eating at restaurants, and apparently enjoying themselves. They send me messages. They're happy there. Yara accessed the files, her tentacles moving rapidly. Earth has formally filed a complaint with the Federation. I laughed. Then I told them we would accept nothing less than total surrender. Thrace paused. That's when things got worse. They're asking for reparations for the damaged park, citations for your parking violations, and... She paused, tentacles freezing mid-motion. They want to establish formal trade relations. Trade? Thrace looked up. After I invaded them? They've listed items they're interested in acquiring. Advanced medical technology. Faster than light travel capabilities. Cultural exchange programs. Yara kept reading. They're also offering items for trade. Entertainment media. Something called coffee. and a proposal for a joint space exploration initiative. High Commander Thrace sat down heavily in his chair. All four eyes closed in sequence as he processed this information. When he opened them again, he looked directly at Thrace. You have started the most embarrassing incident in Federation history. You invaded a species that responded by capturing your forces with construction equipment, mocking you with internet culture, offering your soldiers employment benefits, and then asking if we wanted to be friends. In my defense, Thrace started. There is no defense, Thrace interrupted. You attacked Earth. Earth won using taxis and garbage trucks. And now they want to trade coffee with us. So what do? Asked Thrace. Thrace stood up, straightening his uniform. We do what we should have done 200 years ago when we first found them. We send ambassadors. We apologize. And we hope that humans are as forgiving as they seem to be curious. And if they're not forgiving? Thrace asked quietly. Thrace looked at the images of humans cheerfully dismantling alien warships with blowtorches and determination. Then we better hope they still have pizza to trade, because that seems to be the only thing we have that they want. The council meeting adjourned with a unanimous vote. Earth would be reclassified from Code Red to Allied Observer status, pending negotiations. Commander Thrace was reassigned to a monitoring station in the Galactic Rim where he couldn't invade anything more dangerous than empty space. And somewhere on Earth, in a facility in Nevada, Vorganian soldiers were teaching humans about antimatter reactors in exchange for pepperoni and mushroom pizza, extra cheese. The universe had officially become a much stranger place. So what did you think? Did this story surprise you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this sci-fi story, please hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe for more mind-blowing science fiction stories every week. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.